This video tutorial is sponsored by Skillshare, an online learning community with thousands of classes on all kinds of topics. Through classes on Skillshare, I've explored illustration, iPhone photography, how to establish a creative workflow, and more. I actually first tried Skillshare because I was trying to find classes on Procreate. The first class I took was Digital Illustration, Learn to Use Procreate by Jaron Vogel. And if you're ever curious about something, it's easy to find a class on Skillshare to download and watch when you have those weird pockets of time when you're waiting for something. I watched Skillshare classes while my son was taking karate classes. He got a black belt, and I figured out the basics of digital illustration. For less than $10 a month for the premium annual membership, I can honestly say it's been totally worth it for me. I've had that membership for years now. So as someone who uses it all the time and love it, I was all heck yeah when they offered to sponsor this video tutorial. If you'd like to try Skillshare, the first 1,000 people to use the link in my video description will get a free trial of premium membership. So if you have a limited time and want to feel like you're moving forward towards your creative goals, it's definitely something to try. Hi, this is Jen Swift from wellcraftedstudio.com, and today's tutorial is how to use the symmetry tool in Procreate to draw mandalas. Now, I just was showing my niece and nephew just the other day on how to draw these mandalas, and they're 8 or 9. They absolutely loved it. They thought it was like magic, and it was so much fun for me to show them how to do it, and they caught on so quick, and they just sat there for hours just drawing and drawing and drawing. So I thought, this is a quick little easy tutorial that I wanted to show you guys as well, in case you didn't know how the symmetry tool works or what the different options were. And then I also went ahead and made it super easy by making I made you a brush and stamp set as well as a template so that you guys don't have to worry about sizing anything correctly. You can just use the template and go. So I'm excited to show this to you. I hope you take a look and then stick around to the end because I got a cool tip for finishing it off. Step 1 in how to draw a mandala in Procreate using the symmetry tool is to create a new canvas. So we're just going to come up to the little plus symbol here in the gallery, and under new canvas I'm going to go and use the little plus symbol, and then we have the different options. I'm going to choose inches, and then I'm going to type in 10 and then touch the height and do 10, and then 300 dpi is what I want to do here, and I'm going to change it to Mandala. And the reason we're doing the 10 inch by 10 inch is because that's a good size for print on demand. It's a good size for the template that I'm going to show you guys how to use. So square canvases are great for social media, so a whole bunch of different reasons. So we're going to do that and say create, and then it is going to go right ahead and open it right away. Okay, step 2 is to upload the free mandala template from wellcraftedstudio.com, which is my blog. Now the reason I have a template is because as I was preparing this tutorial, I realized it was a lot easier to do the mandala if I had a circle and circle and circle template to work with. So I went ahead and created that for you guys. You can make your own here in Procreate, but it's pretty simple just to run over to Wellcrafted Studio, and this is the actual library. To get to the library, you're just going to want to go to the blog and then free library at the top, put in the password, which is free to all subscribers. Just add in your email and you get it, and then you have access to all of this good stuff. So we're going to go past the SVGs and the PDFs, and we're going to go all the way down here to the free Procreate stamps and brushes. So you guys can see I've got quite a bit of that I've been adding to here of free stuff. So mandala template is what we want. You can also grab the mandala stamps and brushes at the same time. So mandala template, download, and then you'll see up here the little circle with the arrow, and actually it should only be once but I already tried this out once. So here it is. I'm just going to tap it, and it's going to open up in my files as a zip file. And then I'm going to tap it to open into the regular file. Here it is, circle and circle. And now up here in the corner with the little square and the up arrow, I'm going to put save image. So that's going to save it to my photos. Now when I come into Procreate, I can come up to that little wrench and put in add, insert a photo, and there it is. Now what I want is for this to be centered, and so you can see when you move it around you get that yellow thing there, or that line there, to show you where the center is. But the way you do that is you have to have the snapping on and the magnetics, so that's just the toggle. But if you want to actually get the horizontal line too, it's easier just to kind of go off your paper or your canvas and then just move it with your finger like that. So that's perfectly centered now, and it's about the size that I want. You can of course make this any size that you want, but it's always easy to go smaller and it's hard to go bigger. So I like to start things off really big and then go smaller if I want to. So again, it was kind of hard to get the yellow crosshairs when it was right on it. There we go. So that should be, well, let's see, actually that was a little off. There we go. So it wants to kind of click into place, which is what we want. And that is how easy it is to insert the template. Okay, so step 3 is to turn on the drawing assist. So what we're going to do now is we are up in the corner by the gallery, there's a little red symbol. So under the actions, we're going to choose canvas, and then you'll see crop, resize, animation assist. We want the drawing guide. So we're going to turn on the drawing guide, and that is going to give us these lines here. But now we want to change these lines to make them the symmetry tool. So step 4 is to edit the drawing guide. So we're going to edit drawing guide just by tapping that. And then if you'll see, there's some different options here. We've got the 2D isometric perspective. We're going to go the symmetry today. So we're going to go ahead and touch that symmetry tool, and then you can see here that there are options. So there's vertical, horizontal, quadrant, and radial. So that's just breaking up the canvas into different sections that will be repeated. So for instance, with the vertical, if I was to draw on this side, it will repeat on this side. So for the radial, it's gonna, if I draw once here, it's gonna show up in each one of these quadrants, or each one of these radials. So we've got the radial set, and now something I want you guys to play with is the rotational symmetry. So we're gonna tap that on as well, and then we're going to say done. And actually what I just did there is a good thing to show you. When we edited, I tapped, instead of tapping done, I tapped over here. And so that made those radial lines disappear. So you can change the color of those lines. You can also change the opacity of the lines. I usually do it about 50%, do the thicknesses of the lines. And I actually like to have it more of the blue over here. So now we go back to options. It still says radial and rotational. And now we'll click done. And there you can see we're ready to go right here. Okay, so step 5 is to start your drawing. And the way that we're going to do that is on our layer 1, we have our template. So we're going to add another layer, and this is going to be the start of our draw layer. Now you want to come up to the brushes. And right now I have in the brush library, I have my Mandala stamps and brush set selected. So this again is another free download from wellcraftedstudio.com. I just kind of put it together, pulled some from other packs and things, and put this together because I think these are some good images that we can really play with for this. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you guys quickly with the thin brush. So right now you can see that is not repeating like we thought it was going to repeat. So what we're going to do is go to the layers, and so layer 2 we need to turn on the drawing assist in order to get that radial symmetry. So drawing assist is on, and now you can see that when I create a mark within one of these pi radials, it repeats itself in each one of them. So pretty nifty and a really fun kind of zen thing to do when you're just, you want to sit and play instead of just coloring. You can sit and use the symmetry tool. It's actually really fun. Now what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you guys quickly how this template really super helps. So when you're designing, by being able to kind of gauge the size and the shape of your design, you, instead of just kind of wherever and thinking it's going to look okay, you can go and change that like so. You can change the size over here on the left. You can change, now stamps are kind of, they just want to go one direction. So in order to get them to go another direction, you have to kind of switch the canvas. So see how this one's kind of upright and this one's more horizontal? That is done by changing the size of the canvas. Now when I say change the size of the canvas, I just mean your viewpoint of it. So we're zoomed in, zoomed out, zoomed in. It's not actually changing the literal size of the canvas. It's still 10 by 10 at 300 dpi. But it's nice, another nice part of digital art is that we can go ahead and get really close up as we're working and just see what we're doing. Now it does help to go ahead and make use of those layers, and as you go and work through your design, So I'm going to actually finger tap back to take it to undo. So as you start to build your design, building it on separate layers is really helpful. So again, you will have to turn on that drawing assist, but let's go and add some flowers to the center here. And then we'll go do that again. And I'm going to be repeating some elements because that really helps with the overall design composition. And now I like this, but you know, it's kind of hard to kind of get things spaced evenly on one row. So you can see how trying to get them all to kind of be the same size in the same place is a little difficult. So what I could do is just do it once and then come and duplicate that layer by sliding left, duplicate, and then if I take this arrow, which is the move tool, I can just go and turn that duplicate and space it right between. Now because I have my snapping and my magnetics on, it wanted to snap them into place. If I turn that off, then I can just smoothly move them exactly where I want them to be, like so. And then I'm just going to come here and I'm going to click on that top layer and put combine down. Let's see, or merge down. I want it to merge down so that it's now one layer there. So I'm just going to keep doing that, keep playing with it and adding to my design. And actually, so the center of this, I do want to create, so layer 5, so that's it's off, no drawing assist, and I'm going to go back to my stamps, grab that dragonfly, and then I want to put it right in the center. There we go. Okay, so hard to get it directly in the center, but because it's on a different layer, I can go ahead and move it. And again, I can be off to the side and then I'm not trying to see around my finger as I'm moving. I can just go ahead and if I want it smack in the middle, I'll turn on those magnetics and snap it again. And that will help me get that right where I want it to go. So there we go. And now you guys can see if I turn off that template, how it's starting to take shape. So kind of fun, right? So I'm just going to keep on building that up. And I didn't have that assist on. Okay, so I've kind of filled this in. I like how it's looking, but if I go and I get rid of that template, it's not really a cohesive design. So I really want some of those rings there so that I can have that mandala look to it that really kind of pulls it all together. So I'm going to do another layer and I'm going to create some circles on my own. I'm going to turn that template back on, but I'm going to touch that end and dial it back even further. And then on layer 9, I'm going to take, let's see, monoline. Actually, let's go over to inking. I think I can make my monoline bigger there. And we're just going to start with the outside biggest circle. And I'm going to make a really loose circle and then put one finger down, and that's going to change it into a perfect circle. So I kind of went off too far over the edge here. So I'm going to 2-finger tap to go back, but I wanted you to see that again. So I'm going to close it, 1 finger down, and then I've got my perfect circle. Now in order to move it to where I want it to go, I lift my finger up, do the tap, and then I can go ahead and place it. Now it's still not quite big enough, so I'm going to drag it a little bit. You really, I mean, I think I mentioned this before, but you really don't want to go ahead and make things bigger, because that has then Procreate has to fill in those extra pixels and kind of guess. Instead, it's okay to make things smaller. You really don't want to make things bigger. But rather than changing that circle, I'm just going to go ahead and go with it for right now. So now I want to make a few more circles, so I'm just going to swipe left and duplicate, and again, because I'm going smaller now, I can go ahead and do that. So I'm going to drag in those corners. Because it's uniform, it's going to stay a circle. If I was to go to freeform, I could pull in and change the overall shape. So you can follow your template, or you can just kind of make it up yourself where you want those to be. Duplicate again, and just keep making those concentric circles where I want them to be. Make sure they're in the center. Oops, 3 fingers to redo. And again, it's almost easier to be outside of it when you're trying to do fine positioning. So to get that right where we want it. So that's actually not where I wanted it. Go with that. Okay, and then unselect by clicking off that, and let's look at what we've got so far. So that really does help with the overall look of it. So let's just go ahead and continue. And now as I get smaller, you can see that the line itself gets smaller as well. So the thickness of this one is much different than the thickness of this one. So if I want to keep that consistent, what I'm going to have to do is actually redraw the line. So let's just do that. We'll swipe left to get rid of that one and delete it. And then we're just going to go and draw. Put the finger down, and then we're going to move it and set it. So now, because everything's on separate layers, we actually have some ability to go and change things. I want to be able to get rid of these little leafy things or move that layer. So what I'm going to do is actually just tap on here, and it's going to show me if I tap on these little fern things, those are on layer 2. If I tap on those, they're layer 4, that's layer 8. And the super secret awesome way of getting it to do that is if you come up here to, let's see, preferences, and then gesture controls. If you go down to layer select, you can toggle on the finger touch will invoke layer select. So that's usually off, you can toggle it on. And then what you do is you tap anywhere, and it's actually going to take you to that layer in the thing. So I've got that little leafy thing that I want to be able to erase. So I found the layer it was on, and now I can go ahead and do that. Just want to do a little bit, kind of like it touching it a bit there. And now I can see that my circle was off over here because this one is really off. But anyways, you guys get the idea. You get the concept of what it's supposed to look kind of. I did leave some areas here that I'm not thrilled with, but rather than fill those in, I'm going to use some design elements when I'm doing the coloring part to do that instead. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. And so the next step that we're going to do is we're going to duplicate the canvas, and then we're going to color it. Okay, so step 6 is to duplicate our canvas. And so what I mean by that is right now, rather than drawing all one and then coloring that same one, That's going to take a lot away some of, it's going to be such a, we're going to have so many layers that it's going to get really like difficult to manage this. So I'd rather prefer to have one drawing canvas and then color on a separate one. And so the way that we're going to do that is we're actually just going to go out to gallery and we're going to duplicate the artwork. So you take it and you swipe left and then duplicate. So that's duplicated the entire canvas with all the layers. So we still have that original. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to delete that template. We don't need that. I'm going to take and I'm going to pinch all those together and put them, and we're going to merge them onto one layer. So kind of flatten them out. So now we have just that one layer. And that is going to be our coloring page. Okay, so step 7 is to color a mandala. And there's a couple different ways we can color it. So what I'm going to do to start though is I'm going to create a protected layer again. So I've got my layer 2, which is the design, and I'm going to swipe left on it and duplicate it. And then underneath, I'm going to swipe left again and lock. And so now I have this layer and I can't do anything to it and it's just protected. But I'm going to turn it off so that it's just kind of forgotten, it's gone. I'm going to be working on this layer. And now you can color in your design a couple different ways. One way is color drop. And color drop, if I go back up to this little circle in the center or top right, which is my color, I can take and hold it, and then drag it and place it where I want it to go. You see how easy that is. That's color drop. Now with color drop, there is a threshold. So if I was to do this, okay, color drop, and say it didn't fill in quite everything it needed to fill in. So I don't know if you guys could see this here. See that little area there didn't get filled in. So let's go back out of this. Now if I go to do this, see how that didn't get filled in, but I keep my pencil tip down and I can slide left or right, and what I'm doing is adjusting this threshold. And so I can actually make it so that I can fill in more or less of this. So let's see, that was like obviously too much. So I'm going to swipe it left because I want to get this little tiny bit, but I don't want to fill in the whole thing. I just wanted it to flood the area that I wanted to flood. So that is the color threshold. Now, the other option of kind of coloring funding, it's kind of a quick and dirty option for coloring, is you can use the automatic selection. So if I take automatic, so it's the little ribbony tool here, selection, and it's on automatic right now, I can go and I can, touch the areas that I want to fill in. One leaf there, one leaf, I don't know. So those areas are now filled in, and if I go up to the brush tool, I can go and choose a really big brush, like say like under airbrush I've got this hard blend that's really big. I can max that brush out, and then with like one touch I can fill in all those things that were selected. So you can see here where there's areas that are grayed out. Those are the not selected, the things that I didn't tap on. So those things I can't touch those. I can only make marks on the areas that we selected. And then because that assisted is still on, as I make a mark in one area, it repeats in another. So kind of a, if you're, I don't know, I mean, I think it's pretty zen to just sit there and color little by little. But if you want to go and, just really, if your purpose is not to just completely meditate and color, but you just really want to make a design and you want it quick and dirty, you can do it like that. That really works. So now we've got some of these things. If I wanted to change a color, I can just go ahead over the color. Oops, and see my color drop was, our threshold was a little higher again. But again, just to kind of, this is like really obviously off now, but I just wanted to show you guys kind of some of those two different coloring methods. Again, when you color, you can also go ahead and, if you wanted to, you could continue to duplicate this and then do different colors on different layers as well. So if I wanted to go ahead and change this, but I didn't want to change it, I wasn't sure if I liked it, I can go and I can toggle between the two, deciding which I like, and neither the original layer isn't destroyed, it's not destructive because I created this other one on top where I can play. If I don't like it, I delete it. and I'm back to where I was. So one of those great things about digital art that I just love is how non-destructive it can be. If I was to go ahead, a regular piece of paper and make a mark, well, I can't go, rather than just erasing that mark, I really can't do anything about it. I made the mark, it's there. So here there's all these different little things that you can do to kind of protect your design while you're experimenting, which means you can experiment more. And I think that's a lot of what makes digital art so exciting to me. Okay, our final step is step 8, and that's just to export or share a design. So what I did here is I did take a final look at my design, and I realized that I did want to kind of some element that was going to bring the whole thing together. So I went and I grabbed that filled circle and I just added some different multicolored circles throughout the different layers. So now it looks the way I want it to look, and I have different options for sharing it or exporting it. And what you choose to do with your design after this point is kind of depends on how you would like to export it. What I mean is, if I was to take this design and want to put it into Cricut as a print and cut design and make stickers, or if I wanted to put it on a mug for sublimation or a t-shirt or something like that, then I'm probably not going to want this white background. So I can go ahead and remove that right now by going back to my layers panel and clicking off that background color. And now I have those little cross-hatched lines everywhere, and that is actually a transparent background. And so I can just come right up here to the wrench tool under share and do the PNG, and that would, let's see, I'll just show you, it exports it. I can save it to files, or I'm going to save it to my saved image, which is my photographs. And then from there, I can go ahead and send it to my Mac. I can upload it into Cricut Design Space. You can send it to Redbubble and do print on demand and make pillowcases, whatever you want to do. If I was to want to turn this into a print, I would probably share it as a JPEG because that'll have a nice look to it. You can also share as a PDF. You can share, there's different things that you can do depending on what your end result is. And you don't have to share it, export, or do anything with it. Part of the beautiful part about this technique, the symmetry, is that even just using the symmetry is relaxing, it's fun, it's meditative, it's a lot like using, spiral graphs or doing any of the little things that we do that make us just enjoy what we're doing. And so that magical quality of using the radial tool, or the radial symmetry, is really kind of, that's fun just in and of itself. So don't feel like you have to do anything with this, but I did want to show you guys, if you were to want to take it out of here, out of Procreate, how would you go about doing that? And that is using this share. Okay, so remember that one last tip I had for you at the end? Because we split our design into the drawing canvas and the coloring canvas, we can now go back to that drawing one and print out just the drawings. And you can make these little cards. Now, as an artist, one of the best things that we can do is share our work with the world. And if you make these little coloring cards, you can go ahead and leave them at bus stops. You can hand them out. You can leave it at, with a tip at the restaurant. They're just little bits of art that if people take their time and look at them and color, it really enriches who they are, and it enriches their time and helps them pause and really enjoy a moment of creativity. So just one last little tip that I thought I'd give you guys about what you can do with these mandalas. Also, remember to go back over to wellcraftedstudio.com and pick up that free template as well as the free brushes. So thanks for watching, and I hope you'll watch again.